I would like to invite Balázs Sebestyén to talk about Esports on the way of professionalization. Can sports guide us? This is the title. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome everyone. Esports haven't reached its maturity yet. There are a lot of questions which need to be answered at the moment. You can see the current ecosystem of esports at the moment here behind me on the projector. There are mainly 4 main stakeholder groups. I would like to analyze these stakeholder groups, and I'm going to go into details on what we need to have esports as an industry, a branch. I came from KPMG, and I work as an esports advisor and sports advisor as well. We give advice to international clubs, leagues, and federations. And we get more and more appointments from esports organizations and institutions who at the moment do not deal with esports, but they would like to have a division. My connection to esports is personal because I am a semi-professional at one of the teams, and I managed to win the Hearthstone Championship at the National League in Hungary, National Championship in Hungary. My hobby is esports. I watch matches, not only Hearthstone, but others as well. And I was at Tego Major at Katowice, and I also represented KPMG at a business conference in London. And this shows that today esport is not just a gamer concept, but also a business in itself. Our first area is the esport as a core product. If you look at the definition, then it is an organized competitive video game, and I would start by pinpointing video game, because you can have esports, make esports out of any video game. You can see the 10 most popular games, and if you look at the titles and the issue dates, the publishing dates, they are quite diverse. So whether a game becomes an e-sport, it takes time. It takes time and the support of the publishers who have the IP rights. So they need to have an organized strategy. It's not enough to create the game and have a popular game. You need a strategy. For example, we talked about Fortnite today. It came out, it was published in 2017. However, an organized esports scene only started in 2019. And before, we couldn't talk about an organized esports scene. If you look at the competitivity and the organization, so the leagues themselves and the teams, for them it's a question in what system they should organize the competition. You can talk about closed and open leagues, but it changes every year, even with the most established games like CSGO. For example, during my experience, I would like to show you, through my experience, that it is not only... So you can learn from business. For example, we had a client, a video game publisher, who wanted to have a survey, an international survey about the most famous leagues, sports leagues, and what good practices could be taken from them, let it be closed or open leagues. And they took these experiences from traditional sports and they incorporated it into a world-leading league. But besides the competitive scene, you shouldn't forget about the players, because they are the interaction point with the audience, and it defines the success of an esport product. For example, in the national Hungarian Esports Championship, a training was organized parallel, and here not only the players but also the team leaders could learn a lot from these trainings. How, for example, on how to behave professionally and how to advertise the products, represent the games and the products in a professional manner. In esports, my experience is everyone is trying to communicate individually, and in the end, the messages are lost. And this should be coordinated like in the traditional sports. If you look at the distributions, the agencies who organize the events, we should talk a lot about the broadcasting rights, because in a couple of years this is going to be defining, and companies will have more money from this than from sponsorship. You have to keep in mind that you need to retain the fans in esports, because at the moment the trend is showing an increasing curve. However, if Twitch becomes a platform where you have to pay to use it, then you will have to think it over how you will get the revenues. The third and most important area is financing and funding. This is quite important. In esports, most investors build on increase. On the left side, you can see the yearly survey of KPMG, where they looked at the most valuable football clubs of Europe, and we tried to put a price tag on them. And similar values can be seen on the right side for esports teams. And there's a huge difference. And if I go down to the revenue level, then the difference is even greater. However, if we want to professionalize ourselves, then this is a serious problem. And instead of growth strategies, we need to find financially sustainable solutions which bring us a return on investment. How does it look in Hungary at the moment? In Hungary, it's quite similar, but it's smaller, because the teams don't have enough income to be professional. There are trials, people are trying, but there's no good practices yet. And very often they are not even able to support gamers to get to a competition. This is because of the fact that it's very difficult to get sponsors. You would need management skills to do that. And these young people do not really have business experience and management experience, so it should be coordinated. And for example, if you give, for example, big prizes, competition prizes, then this could be a great source for these teams. Last but not least, those industries which are besides their parallelly next to esports, the complementing branches and industries. For example, agencies play a huge role in this whole ecosystem, and they are going to shape the industry in the future. But now I don't want to talk about them, but something else, a segment that is almost forgotten, which gives data and analyzes data. The data, the question of data is very important, and it's mainly business data. There are a lot of articles nowadays which describe esport as a bubble. These articles write this because there are not enough comparable data about the industry. And if you want to change that, if you want to educate the public, you need to have reliable data. And also the teams and leagues, it is in their interest of to have this data because it's useful for them. In KPMG, a lot of business data of football clubs are available, and others are looking for this data because they ask for this data because this is how they can develop themselves. As a summary, after the lot of questions, I would like to tell that there are serious opportunities in the esports industry, and it's worth building on it. The first is the audience, the first aspect. It is a very young audience. It has a huge purchasing parity, and it is an increasing, growing segment, and a lot of companies would like to target them. The second pillar is the content, which is very similar to sports itself because it is competitive. There are stories, there are narratives they are trying to sell. In sports, this can be exchanged for money, but currently in esports they don't know yet how to exchange it for money, so that's why you need to tap into this. And finally, digitalization. Digitalization is inextricably intertwined with esport, and it gives a lot of opportunities. So it is a very nice entry point for outsiders. And let's not forget that it's very valuable that those working in esports are motivated and enthusiastic. In other industries, maybe I don't see this internal driver effect, and it means a huge opportunity in micro and in macro level as well. We need to build on that. And it is our task here in the room, and it is our goal to help esport professionalize, and with KPMG we would like to be a partner in that. Thank you very much for your kind attention. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, or even you can write me an email. Thank you for your kind attention.